Now, U.S. rapper Sean Combs caused quite a stir on social media circles, calling for the release of American citizen Kevin Townsend, who is awaiting trial in Namibia on murder and other charges for more than 10 years now. Combs, also known as P Diddy, Puff Diddy or Diddy, claimed that Townsend had been jailed and never received his right to a fair trial. Townsend and co-accused American Marcus Thomas are on trial in the High Court in connection with the murder of a Namibian citizen, Andre Hekma, who was 25 when he was shot in an alleged planned killing in Windhoek on the 7th of January in 2011. Now, joining me with more on this is the chairperson at the Namibia Law Association, that is Yolanda Kalenga. Good morning, ma'am, and thank you very much for being here this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Right. Now, from a legal point of view, what is your reaction to the statements by P Diddy?
All right. I think before I touch on my views, I'd just like to give a disclaimer for the benefit of the public that the issues that I'm going to touch on is based on information that is widely reported. I say this because the matter is scheduled for court this week, and out of respect for the court and due process, I would not like to obviously infringe on any confidential information relating to the case. And I'd also like to further disclaim that I am not in any way associated with the accused or their representatives, and I merely speak as a representative of a voluntary body of lawyers.
Understood.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
So, having looked at Mr. Sean Combs' statements, I would like to maybe contextualize them for the benefit of the public and maybe repeat those statements,
Please.
the two key statements that he made. The first one was that Mr. Townsend did not receive his right to a fair trial, and receive being the operative word. And the second statement is that Mr. Townsend is in prison for murder, and that he has not been afforded the opportunity for his case to be heard, meaning that he has not led any witness statements, or apparently he's further alleging that there's no evidence linking him to the case. So I would like to touch on the first statement, being that the allegation that Mr. Townsend has not received his right to a fair trial. And in that regard, I would like to maybe just educate the population on what it means when we say the right to a fair trial. And for that, I would like to draw their attention to the constitutional principles speaking to the right to a fair trial as they are contained in Article 12. One of them is that the accused is entitled to have their matter heard in an independent and competent court. And secondly, that the accused is entitled to have their matter heard within a reasonable time frame, failing which they're entitled to be released. And also there's a presumption that the accused is innocent until proven guilty. And also the accused is fully entitled to a legal representative of their choice. Now, when we contextualize Mr. Sean Combs' statement saying that the accused, Mr. Townsend, has not received his right to a fair trial, I think I would like to correct him by saying that the right to a fair trial is not something that the accused has to receive. It's not something that has to be given to be received. It's a constitutionally protected right that is enshrined, and it is there. The accused is entitled to it. He does not need to do anything more than to exercise the right and to expect that the court, which is constitutionally bound to respect that right, to then uphold that constitutional mandate. So also on the topic of him alleging that Mr. Townsend has been in prison for murder, I would like to clarify that yes, Mr. Townsend was arrested and charged with murder, but for him to be in prison for murder, he would have to be convicted of murder. That has not happened because due process has not been finalized. So in this regard, I would like to obviously just hope that Mr. Sean Combs appreciates this clarification that in our legal system, the constitutional right to a fair trial is not something that we take lightly. Yes.
So what are some of the reasons behind the delay of this trial?
Well, if you look at the history relating to this trial, you will see historical delays mostly attributed to the accused, you know, them always changing lawyers, you know, the one having tried to get himself declared mentally unfit, having tried to obstruct justice, you know. So when you look at the role of the state in this matter, when you contextualize how the state as represented by the judiciary has conducted itself, it has repeatedly afforded the accused an opportunity to be given a lawyer of their choice at the cost and expense of the state, the legal aid. But at all times, it seems as if the accused have not played their part to get their matter finalized. So you see that there's a disparity. You know, the one party is interested in affording you your rights and giving you an opportunity at their expense for your right to be exercised and for your matter to be finalized. But then, on the other hand, you see a party that does not have respect for due process, you know, and that contributes to the delay of due process and the finalization of the matter. So when you are only looking at 10 years, you hear the number 10 years, you would think, oh wow, the judicial system in Namibia is crumbling.
Yeah.
But if you contextualize those 10 years and look at the historical delays and the contribution mainly on the side of the accused, you would really come to appreciate that it's misleading to only have a one-sided view of the matter. Yes.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Now, the statements made by Sean Combs, aka P Diddy, on a platform that he holds with so many followers, and as well as those that are made by the father of Townsend, what impact does that really have on the international country's view on Namibia's legal system?
Well, I would firstly like to say that if Mr. Combs had done a simple Google search, he would have actually saved himself the opportunity to make such an embarrassing statement or statements, you know, because as a celebrity with so much influence and power and the resources available to him, it was actually incumbent upon him to actually fact-check the information, you know, and use that celebrity power, you know, to push people to actually respect systems and due process. Because now the impact of his statements, whether intended, whether knowingly or unknowingly made, has actually cast a negative light on our judiciary, you know. And the judicial system is one built on principles of trust, you know, and ethics and integrity and excellence. So when a negative statement is made that casts an aspersion on a system that thrives on trust, it actually diminishes the integrity of the system, the institution, the process, and the agents involved. Because now people will read these statements and will consider Namibia to be a country with a broken system, you know. But that is just a one-sided view because they have not been given true facts, and those facts have also not been contextualized. Yeah.
What is the possibility that we see these the two accused walking free?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, my disclaimer was that out of respect for court, I cannot comment on that because the matter is actually scheduled for trial this week. So we are actually excited to see how it will pan out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we're definitely excited to see how it will pan out. All right, do you have any final remarks to share with us?
I would like to address the public and say that social media is really a gift and a curse. You know, it is the gift that gives you access to information and access to people, but it is also a curse when you do not use it responsibly, you know, to fact-check information. And you see, when you are banking on the sensational aspect of a story, you know, and drawing people in, it really, really creates this viral effect, you know, where the horse literally goes before the cart because no one actually takes time to fact check. So when we post information, I think we all have a personal ethical duty to make sure that this information is correct, because the unintended consequence of posting or sharing information which has not been fact checked is that you could intentionally or unintentionally be compromising the integrity of a system, a process, a person, or a reputation. And those are things that when you are looking at the judicial system, those are things that we need to jealously guard against. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Kalenga, for being here this morning and for sharing your views on this important matter.
Thank you so much.
Well, that was Yolanda Kalenga, the chairperson at the Namibia Law Association, talking to us about the statements made by Sean Combs on social media, which caused quite a stir in regards to the release of the American citizen Kevin Townsend, who is awaiting trial who is awaiting trial on charges of murder